Welcome back to The Haunted Beard, everybody. My name is Jake. Thanks again for joining me. So today I want to give you my review for Lumberjack the Monster. This is a new film that just dropped on Netflix, and this thing flew totally under the radar. Barely have heard anybody talking about it or any advertisement for it. Really have only heard about it in the last few weeks. But this is the latest from Japanese director Takashi Miike, who you may know directed films like 13 Assassins, Ichi the Killer, and Audition. I was intrigued by it, gave it a watch, wanted to give you my thoughts, so here we go. After surviving an attack by a masked serial killer, ruthless psychopathic lawyer Akira sets out on a path of revenge. Now, the marketing in this movie, from what I got, really was kind of selling it as a psychopath versus serial killer type thriller. And so I went into this thing with some expectations based on that and based on Miike's, reputation of having some pretty intense and brutal movies, that this was going to be something along those lines. But I have to say, I was a little bit disappointed and let down, as this thing is kind of tame. Yeah, there is some violence, there is some blood, but for the most part, this thing didn't really have much to deliver on that front. There are a few moments where you get this kind of over-exaggerated sort of, Japanese manga type blood sprays, but they don't actually show like the cuts. They just kind of show a splatter of blood on like a wall or something. And so you kind of get shortchanged with that. And outside of a few of those scenes, there's not really much else here in terms of the bloody violence. They show a few scenes where with the aftermath of a killing, but it's pretty brief, and they're pretty reserved and restrained in terms of how much they actually show. And so really, outside of, maybe some coarse language, this is like a borderline PG-13 type movie. Now, obviously, expectations can be a killer, and I typically try to go into every movie with no expectations whatsoever. And so, having not seen any of the trailers, and really that's all I knew going in, psychopath versus serial killer movie directed by Takashi Miike, I couldn't help but have some expectations that we were going to get something pretty insane and pretty gnarly, but this thing just doesn't really pack much of a punch. Now, outside of my disappointment with the lack of bloody violence, the film here has a at least enjoyable story and an engaging enough story to at least warrant a watch. But really, this is a film that I would say is kind of the epitome of a one and done type thing. This is something that is enjoyable enough to where, I didn't get bored with it while I watched it, but it's not something I would really ever plan on returning to. There's not much here that's really memorable that is going to last with you outside of the 2 hours that you spend watching the movie. The visual presentation, it's competently shot. I mean, Miike obviously knows what he's doing. He knows how to make a competent film. The visual presentation is fine. Again, there's nothing about it that's super memorable. There's nothing really about the editing that really sticks out. The performances are fine. The lead guy, Akira, who is the psychopathic lawyer, is pretty good. His character is intriguing and interesting enough to at least keep you engaged. And the movie provides enough of a kind of mystery thriller element to it to, again, kind of keep you engaged throughout the runtime. But again, it just doesn't do anything memorable that you're going to think back on after a day or two having seen this thing. And there's nothing here that's really going to cause me to want to go back to rewatch it at all. And so really the pacing is the film's highlight, at least for me. It moves along pretty well. There's not a whole lot of fat here that would need to be trimmed. It has enough here to keep you engaged and not get bored. There are some twists and reveals that aren't super mind-blowing, but again, it's enough there to keep you entertained. So, it's one that I would give a slight recommendation. If it looks interesting to you, you'll probably enjoy yourself enough that you didn't feel like you wasted your time, but it's by no means a must-watch. So for me, I'm going to be, this is like a 5.5, maybe 6 out of 10 type movie. And Yeah, that's really all there is to it. It was a bit of a letdown in terms of the violence and stuff like that, but there is enough of a story here to at least keep you engaged and entertained. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. Hit me up down below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. If you got anything out of this video, go ahead and do me a favor and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.